Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Napier, and I am going to be your guide early in this process, and we'll pop on in 45 minutes after Yobel has a chance to introduce you to Seattle University. A couple of things for you to notice is that if you need to ask questions, remember we can't see you or hear you, so you'll need to use that Q&A button to type your questions so Yobel can respond to them either in writing, but probably verbally to you. If you are very excited about this process and want to sign up for more sessions, you can check out the schedule at www.iacac.org. And then the good news is that this recording will be available. So if you get really jazzed about the opportunity and have a chance to talk to Yobel and want to refer your friends, you can do that. So without further ado, here you are.
Hello, thank you for coming into this presentation today. My name is Yobel Mengistu, and I am the admissions counselor at Seattle University that works with students coming out of the Illinois area. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you a little bit about Seattle U and kind of give you a really in-depth look and an in-depth insight into kind of some of the different types of things we're doing on our campus in terms of academics, in terms of student life, right? And just kind of looking a little bit in terms of where our campus is located in relation to the city of Seattle. And then of course, at the end, kind of going more in depth towards our admissions process. And then of course, kind of going into our tuition and financial aid / scholarships. So I'm excited to be here today. The presentation will last about 30 or so minutes, and then at the end we'll have some time for Q&A. So make sure that you're kind of building up some questions that you're seeing as we go throughout the presentation. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Perfect. Cool. So to kind of get started, for us, we always love to kind of start off to kind of look a little bit about where our campus is in relation to the city of Seattle. So we always kind of start off with this aerial shot, right? This nice big aerial view of our campus. And then of course, we kind of have this outline of our campus, right? In terms of our 54-acre campus. So Seattle University is located right in the heart of the city of Seattle. It's about a 15 to 20 minute walk away from downtown Seattle, depending on how fast you walk, right? But generally speaking, it's a 54-acre campus. So if you look at that left-hand side in terms of that border there, all the way to the right-hand side in terms of that border. So if you were to walk from the left all the way to the right-hand side of the campus, you're looking at about around an 8 to 10 minute walk. So again, 54 acres. And one of the things you'll notice is that when you're on our campus, it's very much a traditional college campus, right? So in the heart of the campus, you will kind of be in the midst of all of the different academic buildings you need to access, all the different library and student centers that you'll need to get to, as well as your residence halls, all within close proximity to one another. So of course, a little bit about who Seattle University is. So Seattle University is a private Catholic Jesuit university. So if you're unfamiliar with the Jesuits were a group of the Catholic order who are well known for their education, well known for their social justice work, but ultimately really well known for thinking about how education can be used to kind of give back to your communities and really thinking at education beyond your general knowledge pathways. So in terms of other Jesuit institutions that you might have heard of, there's about 27 across the country. Some other ones you probably are familiar with are Loyola University Chicago, right? Marquette University, Gonzaga University, Georgetown University, Boston College, and so forth. And so there's colleges all across the country that kind of adhere to that Jesuit educational philosophy. And I'll talk a little bit about how they'll play a role in your academics and of course, how it's intertwined in everything that we do on our campus. So that's kind of a little bit about who we are. And then of course, a little bit about where our campus is located. As you can see, being in the heart of the city affords students many different opportunities. And I'll get really in depth into some of those opportunities in a couple of slides. But ultimately, being in the heart of the city means you have access to professional development opportunities. Of course, being able to extend your student life off campus into some of the great Pacific Northwest and the city of Seattle. And then of course, being able to think about different opportunities to kind of take your education and give it back to the communities. So I'm going to kind of go through all of these three things here. So to kind of give you a little bit about Seattle U's numbers in terms of our student population, as well as class sizes. So to kind of start off, you will see that on the bottom left, that's total student population number. So about 7,200 total students on our campus. That includes undergraduate students, graduate students, as well as students within our law school. And then if you kind of subtract the graduate students and the law school students, you're looking at around 4,700 undergraduate students. So in terms of class sizes, that equates to about 18 per class in terms of an average class size. But generally speaking, the sweet spot tends to fall within the 18 to 25 range. So usually you'll never have more than like 30 students in a class. So you'll probably have like an intro bio class that can kind of reach about that 30 number. Or you'll never have less than 5 students in a class. Kind of the lowest probability number would be around that 5 number. But ultimately 18 is generally where those class sizes fall. And so, and then to the left of that, you will see that Seattle U is 100% faculty taught. So every single class on our campus is taught by a faculty member within the department in which you're taking that course. And so that really lends itself well to kind of connecting to your faculty member, to that professor. In terms of those smaller class sizes, they play hand in hand in terms of the connection that you'll have with your professor, whether it be kind of getting help on the material that you'll need with the coursework. Of course, a lot of our faculty members have been connected to the industries in which they teach, which can again lead to professional development opportunities. And then of course, a lot of our faculty members are doing research on our campus that a lot of students are able to kind of be able to take part in throughout their undergraduate career. So those smaller class sizes play really well in terms of connecting with your professor, that faculty member, and of course, being able to connect with your colleagues, your classmates in the classroom. And then of course, lastly, I do want to point out that 59% number, that is the population of students on our campus that are coming from outside of the state of Washington. So a large majority of our students are coming from all across the country, as well as across the world. And so one of the things to note with that is students are coming to Seattle U, really looking to connect with different communities and find a community that they can connect with and trust throughout their 4 years. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the cool student life clubs and things like that that students are doing on our campus. And then of course, to kind of extend on to those numbers in terms of our first year population. So our first year student population was around 930 students last year. And then in terms of their middle 50%, that middle GPA, that average GPA for this first year class was about a 3.4 to 3.9. We accept students below and above this range. However, this just kind of gives you an idea, a snapshot of kind of where all of our students are sitting in terms of their academics and their GPA. Which of course allows me to segue into our academics at Seattle U and kind of some of the unique opportunities presented for students in terms of academics. And so I want to talk a lot about a couple of different things here. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about some of our majors and programs, a little bit about some of our curriculum in the confines of that Jesuit educational philosophy that I talked a little bit about. And then of course, some of the cool advising that is going on our campus for students. So of course, first, I do want to point out that Seattle University has 60 plus different majors, and these majors range from a wide range of different fields, such as humanities, social sciences, laboratory sciences, business, nursing, and so forth. And so every single one of these majors, so 60 plus different majors, is a direct entry major straight out of high school. So in terms of kind of when you apply to Seattle U, you'll have the opportunity to select a first choice major. And then when you select that first choice major, as we review your application, we will kind of take that first choice major in mind throughout your application. And of course, certain majors do require prerequisites such as business, nursing, science, and then of course engineering. So we'll be looking to kind of see if you completed some of those prerequisites if you're looking to kind of get into one of those major programs. However, every major is direct entry, so that means that you won't have to kind of get to the campus and then do prerequisites and then apply to the major in which you want to kind of be a part of. Generally speaking, right out of high school, you'll be able to get right into your major day one and start taking those courses. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see some of our top majors at Seattle U. So of course, nursing is probably the most popular major at Seattle University. It's a 4-year direct entry program, and it's a direct kind of 4-year Bachelor's of Science in Nursing program. And it's quickly has become one of the top nursing programs in the country. And so one of the things to note about nursing, although we do, every single major is 60 plus, every 60 plus different major is direct entry. Coming to Seattle University, you will have the ability to get into the major of your choice if you weren't able to get directly into that program. So you can come to SU unattached, and then of course take prerequisites and then eventually declare that major that you initially wanted to get into. However, one of the things to note with the nursing program specifically, it is the only program where you won't be able to do that. So the only way to get into the nursing program is to do direct entry straight out of high school. So to have completed at least chemistry and biology with a B or higher, and then of course being overall admissible into that program and then getting directly admitted out of high school for that. So that's one of the caveats about nursing. It's highly competitive, but of course it is a 4-year direct entry cohort style model program where students will receive their Bachelor's of Science in Nursing in their 4th year. And then of course I do want to highlight computer science. So Seattle is the home to many big technological industries such as Microsoft, Amazon, of course T-Mobile is located in Seattle, Expedia, Zillow, and so forth. So there's a lot of big software engineering companies that kind of do work directly with computer science students at Seattle U. So a lot of our students are kind of going off into those fields and getting, whether it be professional development opportunities. There's no shortage of software engineering and software kind of computer science and computer engineering jobs and internships in Seattle. But of course the professional development in that program has allowed us to kind of become an enticing place for students to really come to our campus in that program and be able to kind of head off into the next step. And one of the cool things we're doing to kind of meet demand in the computer science program is, of course, we are currently doing we're currently building a the Center for Science and Innovation, a brand new building on our campus dedicated to our computer science, our biology, and our chemistry programs. It's going to be a state-of-the-art building with maker spaces, research labs, classroom spaces that will be completed in the fall of 2021. And then of course, rounding out that top 6 in terms of majors would be psychology, biology, and of course, economics. But I talked a little bit about how Seattle University is a Jesuit school, and that will play a role in your curriculum. So the Jesuit education really kind of teaches students to kind of think critically, think for themselves, and really challenge some of these different ideas that we're facing in our world, and really kind of look to how we can kind of help with building out different kind of solutions to issues that we're seeing across our world. So one of the ways that we're helping students kind of build perspective and receive an education that goes beyond their kind of general major program is through our core curriculum. So the core curriculum is very much similar to what you'll see at your high school, where you will kind of be taking general education kind of course requirements. So you'll need to have a specific number of credits in specific courses to receive your high school diploma. So the core curriculum is essentially our version of that. It's going to be kind of a mixture of courses all across a wide range of different subject areas. So such as humanities, social sciences, laboratory sciences, and math. And then of course, Seattle University is a Catholic institution, so we do require students to take 2 theology courses as a part of their coursework. And so those theology courses really look at how religion and faith play a role in our world and in our society. And really, there's a lot of options for students to be able to kind of go in depth in terms of courses that best interest them within that module. So one of the courses that's offered within the theology module is looking at how religion has played a role in Hollywood over the course of the past 100 years or so. And then of course, there's comparative religion courses looking at the difference between Buddhism versus Christianity and so forth. So there's a lot of options for you to find a course that best interests you, and of course to be immersed in over the course of 10 weeks in that quarter. And so there's about 60 credits that you'll be taking, about 12 courses generally over the course of 4 years that you'll be taking in conjunction with your major coursework. And then in your final year at Seattle U, as a part of that core curriculum, you'll be required to do a final project, a capstone project at Seattle University. That will be kind of generally taking everything you're learning in the course, such as critical thinking skills, writing skills, analytical reasoning skills, and then of course applying it to your major and to what you're interested in. And then lastly, I do want to highlight those advising opportunities specifically with our pre-major studies program. The pre-major studies program is a program dedicated for students who are undecided or undeclared in terms of the program and career pathway that they're hoping to choose. So we do have 60 plus different majors, and every single one of our majors is direct entry directly out of high school. However, for students who are not familiar what they want to do just quite yet, we do have a pre-major studies program where you'll be able to come to Seattle University unattached to a major, and then you'll be able to take courses across a wide range of different subject areas. And then of course, hopefully be able to narrow down your kind of professional and career goals, as well as your program goals to be able to declare a major by the end of your second year at Seattle U. So that pre-major studies program has a team of about 5 advisors who are dedicated to helping you find what you want to do at Seattle U. So this is, of course,
there's a question out there for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Question here. So does Seattle have a good journalism program? Yes. So Seattle University does have journalism. Our journalism program is, of course, kind of intertwined with our communication and media studies program. And so students will be able to take courses that really allow them to kind of specialize towards journalism with, of course, a bachelor's of arts in overall communication with a specialization in journalism. And so the cool thing about our journalism program is that Seattle U, on our campus, we do have an on-campus newspaper called The Spectator, where our students are gonna be a part of that program, where they'll be doing kind of live journalism work on our campus and actively engaging to that paper every year. And then of course, because we're in Seattle, there's a lot of different opportunities to get involved in the journalism industry, particularly at the Seattle Times, which is our main newspaper in the Seattle area, as well as the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. And so the journalism program, of course, offers a wide variety of different types of ways to get involved with journalism in terms of your curriculum, but ultimately being able to kind of actively be engaged on our campus, whether it be through our on-campus newspaper, The Spectator, or of course, increasing some of your professional development opportunities in the city in journalism. There's definitely a lot of ways to kind of get involved there. But yeah, thanks for asking that question. Really great question there. Perfect. And kind of want to just move on a little bit in terms of our presentation to talk a little bit about the Seattle University experience. So the Seattle University experience spans a lot of different things here. So of course, I'm going to kind of start off to talk a little bit about the Jesuit tradition, right? So I talked a lot about that in the last slide and how that will play a huge role in your curriculum. But also the Jesuit tradition really challenges students to think about education in the confines of their community. How does education play a role in giving back to your communities and giving back to your society, right? And so there's different things we're doing on campus and different offices on campus that are really directly involved with that, whether it be our campus ministry, and then of course the Center for Community Engagement with it, which is our office on campus that does a lot of great work in the greater Seattle area in terms of nonprofit work with different communities around the area. And so the Jesuit tradition really challenges students to continue to think about education beyond their general career pathway. And that of course is a huge component of your Seattle U experience. And then of course the Great Pacific Northwest. So Seattle University is located right in the heart of the city of Seattle. And of course Seattle's in Washington State, where there's so much different outdoor opportunities to kind of get in touch with with nature across the area. So of course Seattle U is surrounded by 2 different bodies of water. So we have the Puget Sound to the west of us, right, which leads into the Pacific Ocean. And then of course we have on the right-hand side or to the east of our campus, we have a freshwater lake called the Lake Washington. So a lot of our students love to go kayaking, right, during the spring and the summertime. Seattle is a big park city with multiple different parks around the area that have their own kind of different environments and feels, right? But of course, if you go about 50 minutes east of our campus, you'll hit kind of some of the great hiking trails that are offered in the Pacific Northwest, the Cascade Mountain ranges, right? So of course, students love to go hiking or outdoor camping. In the winter time, students love to go to Snoqualmie Pass and of course, kind of go skiing or snowboarding. So there's no shortage of ways, right, to get connected to the Great Pacific Northwest and really be able to kind of get kind of in tune with some of the great opportunities we have in terms of outdoors. And then of course, a powerful network. So Seattle U, of course, is in a great city to take advantage of some of the cool industries that are available here, right? So of course, technology, I talked a little bit about Amazon and Microsoft, right? But of course, Seattle U is home to some other technologies that have kind of really done some great work here, such as healthcare, right? Seattle University is located near 5 different hospitals within walking distance of our campus that are all doing really great healthcare work on in research in the healthcare field in the Seattle area. And then of course, nonprofit, right? So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is located in Seattle, and the nonprofit kind of rings all across the Seattle area also. So there's no shortage of ways to kind of get connected to different industries in our area. And of course, a powerful network on our campus means getting connected to your professors, getting connected to your advisors, and then of course, lastly, getting connected to the Career Engagement Office to really be able to take advantage of some of the cool things they're doing to help students reach those professional career goals. And then lastly, Seattle U is committed to sustainability. So in terms of sustainability, Seattle U is doing multiple things on our campus to really think about environmental sustainability, not only on our campus, but of course off our campus. So some of the things we're doing, of course, on our campus, we have banned plastic bottles on the on-campus eatery. So you will not be able to find plastic bottles or buy plastic bottles for any one of our 14 on-campus dining locations. We have compost bins located in every single building, as well as almost at every single intersection of our campus, and recycling bins as well. And then of course, Seattle U is a pesticide-free campus and treated via pesticide-free our groundskeeping in terms of our plants and of course the greenery on our campus. And then lastly, Seattle U has committed to divesting from fossil fuels as a resource in our endowment over the course of the next 3 years. So Seattle U is really committed to that sustainability, but ultimately our students continue to lead the charge on kind of pushing us as a campus to think about this overall, not only at Seattle U, but ultimately across the globe. And then on the right-hand side, you will see the residence hall experience is really a huge part of your Seattle U experience. And I talked about 59% of our students come from all across the country and all across the world. And so a lot of them are really being able to get connected through residence hall experience on our campus. So 94% of our incoming first-year students live on campus. So first and second-year students are required to live at Seattle University. And then in terms of the themed communities that you're seeing there, we have 9 themed communities in our residence halls. And the themed communities are basically floors that are dedicated to specific hobbies that students are interested in, where they'll be living on that residence kind of floor. So essentially you'll have one floor that's dedicated to students who are interested in going to medical school or pre-health sciences. You'll have a floor that's dedicated to students who are interested in music and so forth. And basically what this does is these themed communities allow students to come on our campus, find the community that they instantly kind of connect with in terms of like-minded hobbies. And then of course, through those communities, we'll be able to get connected into the larger communities that we have on our campus. So those themed communities are really a great way for you to come onto campus through the residence hall experience and get connected to different communities right away. And then lastly, 14 on-campus dining locations throughout the Seattle University campus. And these dining locations offer multiple different dietary options. And of course, really giving students a lot of different variety in terms of the food that is offered for them. And then of course, kind of really thinking about the Seattle U experience in terms of the student life experience, right, is a big part of that. So Seattle U has 100+ different student clubs on our campus, ranging from cultural clubs. As you can see on the left-hand side, Seattle U student body is represented by a diverse student body from all kinds of different backgrounds. And all of our students are able to get connected to those communities through their cultural clubs that allow them to find the communities that they trust and the communities that they connect with. And then of course we do have clubs related to specific hobbies. So Seattle U has like multiple different clubs for all kinds of different interests. So for example, there's an esports gaming club. The other day I just found out we had a circus club, which was pretty cool. But again, just giving you an idea of some of the great clubs that we have on our campus that allow students to find interests that they can kind of connect with. And the thing to note about student clubs, if there isn't a club that you connect with or a club that you're not finding that has the interests you want, you can easily create a club. All you need is 5 students and a faculty member to create a club dependent on a new interest. So that would be created through the Center for Student Involvement, as you can see, which of course kind of brings me to some of our campus resource offices on our campus for students to get kind of in touch with throughout their 4 years. So of course I talked about the Center for Student Involvement, which kind of does a lot of the work across our campus to get students connected to different communities through student life and student clubs. Of course, we have the Center for Community Engagement, which is our on-campus office that really does a lot of our service learning opportunities for students and getting students connected to that Jesuit value of thinking about education beyond your kind of general knowledge and career goals, right? We also have the University Recreation Program. So Seattle U has a fitness center on our campus that every student will be able to have access to with fitness classes. And of course, there's intramural sports and club sports, right? To be able to kind of get connected to a healthy and active lifestyle throughout your 4 years. And then I talked about that career engagement office, and the career engagement office does a lot of great things in that office to get students connected to professional career opportunities across the Seattle area, whether that be kind of housing a database of multiple different internship opportunities for students, or whether it be kind of thinking about these different opportunities and how to kind of get these opportunities, right? So they hold resume workshops, they'll do cover letter workshops, they'll have mock interviews. So our career engagement office is really dedicated to helping students think about the professional formation piece of the Jesuit education. So that's a little bit about the student life on campus, and there's so many different opportunities for you to get involved, and of course campus resource offices to kind of get in touch with throughout your 4 years. And then of course I want to switch gears a little bit here. Been talking a lot about the city of Seattle, a lot about our campus and the student life, but kind of go more in depth to kind of talk a little bit more about kind of our application, and then of course how we review applications at Seattle U, and then finish off with our financial aid and scholarship pieces there as well. So on the left-hand side, you will see our application that in terms of the first year kind of population of students and what is required. So Seattle University is on the Common application. So our application will be located on commonapp.org, and you will be able to add us as one of the schools in which you're applying to. And then in terms of these test scores, Seattle University is a test optional school. So that means that you can submit test scores if you feel like those test scores, you want to submit them to be reviewed for your review. You can submit those, but you also can choose to not submit test scores as well if you feel like that test score does not represent your academic abilities. And so I'll talk a little bit about how that will play a role in the review process in terms of if you submit test scores or if you don't in the next slide. And then of course, official transcripts are required from your high school to be sent so that we can review your grades. And then 2 letters of recommendations, one from a high school counselor and then one from a high school teacher. We're pretty flexible on those letter of recommendations, so you can add another teacher or a coach or a club advisor and so forth. And then lastly, English proficiency if applicable. Perfect. So kind of going into that review process and that holistic review process, Seattle University really kind of looks at every application in depth in terms of every student and what they have to provide to Seattle University and vice versa, right? So we take into account multiple different things while reviewing your application. And I'll talk a little bit about some of those things here on this slide. So you're kind of seeing the academic rigor component, right? So in terms of academic rigor, that basically just means that are you challenging yourself in the classroom? So are you taking AP or IB courses, right? Are you dual enrolled at a local college, 2-year college or 4-year college and taking a college level course? These are all things really that show us that you're challenging yourself, right? And then of course, doing really well in those courses allow us to kind of have a better indication of how you'll translate to a college level course at Seattle University. And then of course, grade trend, right? So typically students think that we're just looking at your overall GPA. However, we want to see how that GPA is made up and kind of what your overall high school career looks like in terms of that overall GPA. So we'd be looking at kind of the trend of your grades. So do you have a positive grade trend? Are you kind of consistent with your grades throughout your 3-4 years? Do you have dips at any point in your like second or third year in high school? So we'll be looking really in depth at that grade trend to kind of see where your trend is headed in terms of your academic abilities and kind of see whether or not you'll be able to kind of continue certain trends as you get to Seattle U. And then of course I talked about the SAT, ACT component in the last slide and how Seattle U is a test optional school. So in terms of how that'll play a role in your review, if you decide to go test optional. So if you kind of take that test score and then of course, if you decide to kind of not submit the test score, essentially think of each of these components as a different kind of puzzle, as a different pie piece in a kind of overall pie, right? So if you take out the test score, it essentially makes the other components larger in our review process, right? But if you do submit the test score, each kind of process, each kind of component will be kind of looked at in terms of evenly throughout the application process. And then major prerequisites are required, right? So major prerequisites are going to be kind of looking to see if you're trying to get direct entry to engineering, the sciences, right? Nursing and business and so forth. So we'll be looking to see if you completed specific courses with specific classes, specific grades, I should say rather. And then of course, leadership and activities. So not only do we want to see if you're a great student in the classroom, we also want to see, are you a great student outside of the classroom? And of course, what do you bring to your community? And of course, what do you bring to the Seattle University community? So kind of talking a little bit about if you have a job or if you're involved in like student life opportunities on your campus, of course, like clubs, sports, right? Or if you're doing things around your kind of community in the kind of community that you're from. And then personal statements, right? So the essay is going to be a great way for you to talk a little bit more about who you are. And of course, it allows you to kind of control the narrative of your application, as I like to say. So a lot of the time students will submit different components and feel like they don't have control over those components. The essay is where you'll be able to go in depth and really be able to provide us a little unique aspect of who you are and of course, what you're able to bring to that community. And then lastly, 2 letters of recommendations, one from your high school teacher and then one from your high school counselor. And then on the right-hand side, you will see some of our deadlines. So we have 2 deadlines. We have our early action deadline, which is November 15th, and then that's gonna get you your decision around late December. And then we have a regular decision deadline, which is January 15th, and then that's gonna get you your decision around the first week of March. The biggest differences between these 2 deadlines is essentially when you're getting your decision. So for students who wanna get their decision earlier and know ahead of time if they're getting into the preferred college, you can apply early action. But of course, if you wanna have first semester, senior year grades in your transcript, you can apply for that regular decision deadline as well. And then of course, lastly, do want to finish off the time to talk a little bit more about our financial aid and scholarship opportunities, as well as our annual costs. So on the right-hand side, you will see our tuition at Seattle University. So our base tuition is going to be the same for first and second year students, or our base tuition is going to be the same for in-state and out-of-state students, I should say, as Seattle University is a private institution. So that base tuition will pay for a full 12 to 20 credits, which is considered a full quarter load at Seattle U, about $47,000. And then of course, room and board fee is required for your first and second year. So that room and board fee will be applied to your base tuition cost. And so estimated total cost of attendance that you're seeing there will encompass not only both the tuition and room and board, but we try to estimate different costs that you might occur throughout the year, such as traveling to and from your family home for the holidays or for breaks, right? And going out to eat across the Seattle area. And of course, buying books and different types of classroom supplies. So we try to estimate those costs for you for the year to kind of give you an idea of what it might look like for the year. However, typically students are not paying that kind of full total cost because of the amount of scholarships and financial aid that we're giving out to students. So on the bottom right, you will see our merit scholarships. So Seattle University offers merit scholarships for students that are automatically considered for you when you apply to Seattle U. These are range anywhere from $8,000 and $25,000. And just by applying, you will be automatically considered. And this kind of takes into account our same kind of holistic review process that I talked about in our last slide. But essentially merit scholarships, if you do receive a merit award, they're automatically guaranteed for 4 years that you are at Seattle U. And then, of course, the Sullivan Leadership Award is another scholarship that we offer. It's a full tuition, full room and board scholarship to Seattle University, and it's based off of the core Jesuit educational philosophies such as leadership and service, academic excellence, global engagement. And so that Sullivan Leadership Award is awarded to 9 students every year, and it's highly competitive. However, in order to be considered for the Sullivan Leadership Award, you must apply by our November 15th early action deadline and send us the common application. And of course, you will have to fill out a separate Sullivan Leadership Award application, and then that will be due by November 30th. So of course, early action November 15th, regular common app, and then of course, a separate Sullivan Leadership Award application by November 30th. And then in terms of the average financial aid package at Seattle University, which includes not only scholarships, but also need-based financial aid that will be considered through our student financial services and the free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as the FAFSA, which opened up last Thursday. So definitely make sure you're filling out your FAFSA as you apply. But generally, the average financial aid package at Seattle is about $32,000. So that includes scholarships, federal grants, as well as federal loans as well. And then in terms of the total population of students at Seattle U that are receiving financial aid, it's about 91% of our student population. So in terms of just kind of a good majority of our campus is receiving financial aid and scholarships to kind of help cut that cost down. And of course, see Seattle University as both a financial fit for them as well as their families. So that is what I have for you today. That is my contact info right on the slide. I am the admissions counselor that covers the Illinois area. So I will be reading applications from students who will be applying out of the Illinois area. And of course, I will be making admissions decisions. So feel free to contact me anytime. My email is right up there. And of course, my office phone, if you have questions over the coming weeks as you head throughout your application journey. But of course, I believe that we have time for questions, and I would love to answer any questions that you have. Feel free to kind of put questions in the chat, and I'd love to answer them.
I was just curious how many students, Yobel, come from the Illinois Midwest area to come to Seattle U?
That's a really, really great question. So in terms of the average new students that we're getting here from the Illinois area, it's around like 15 to 20 students every year. And of course that has continued to increase over the past few years. And so generally it falls like average around 15. And a lot of students coming out of kind of the Chicago like proper area generally that are kind of coming to Seattle University. Any other questions that I could help answer or anything?
Yobel, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Illinois ACAC and the students who've been able to listen today. Just a few last minute things as we get ready to wrap this up. If no one else has additional questions, hang on, let me share this. So I just want to thank you for joining us. When you leave the session today, you're going to, there'll be a quick survey, and we really appreciate you answering those questions. If there are other sessions that you would like to sign up for, again, just check out the schedule at www.iacac.org. And then finally, the recording will be available. I think Yobel did a fabulous job of giving you a nice overview of Seattle University and some of the strengths of the place. So thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it and hope that people have a lovely day.
Thanks so much.